It's recording. Ready to go?
Yeah. Hit it, baby.
Ben Cohen, welcome to the Let's Give a Damn podcast.
Nick, it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so thrilled. This has been a long time coming for me, not for you, but a long time coming for me. I've admired your work for years. You've been doing this for a long, long time, this work of giving a damn.
Trying to get a little more justice into the world. Why not?
Yes, and you've been doing it for decades. And those of us that are a little bit younger and are trying to figure our way in the world are really grateful for the path that you've forged for us. You've shown us how to do it well. You've shown us how to stick with it. And so, yeah, again, a true pleasure to have you here.
Well, thanks.
I want to speak for a second to those listening. Some of you were expecting a live podcast today. We were going to do it live, and for a variety of reasons, we canceled that. So now we are sort of in studio, but still at the same location in the People's Forum in Midtown, New York City. A wonderful organization here that I just heard downstairs. You've done other events here before?
Yeah, I've been here once or twice.
Yeah, they do a lot. People's Forum does a lot of justice work here in the city, and yeah, grateful for their contribution to this podcast episode happening. And a huge shout out to our friend Shane Claiborne.
Yeah, Shane.
Shane
does
is
great stuff. I've done a bunch of gigs with him.
Have you gotten arrested with Shane?
Not yet. I think
not
we're
yet.
planning
Okay.
on that for
Yeah.
next year.
Great. Me too. I'm always like ready for him to say, "Come on down," and to get arrested with Shane would be a true honor. To get arrested with you would be a true honor as well.
Well, come on down.
Okay, but a huge shout out to Shane, who's a previous podcast guest, for connecting me with your team. We have a lot to talk about. We have an hour to do it in. So let's begin. I would love to go back before we get to Up in Arms and you getting arrested and a lot of the justice work that you've done. Before we get to Ben and Jerry's, I want to go back as far as you're willing to go to hear a bit about your upbringing, the people, places, and things that made you who you are today. Because I'm a huge memoir, autobiography person. If there was a job where I could just sit down and listen to people tell their stories all day, I would love that job because I love hearing people talk about their lives, the ups and the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly. And in those stories, there's always clues, whether it was born out of trauma or good things. There's clues as to how we got here, how you got here. So would you mind going back as far as you'd like to tell us how you got here?
Sure. Well, I believe that I was conceived in Brooklyn, New York.
Fantastic.
Born in 1951. My parents moved to Long Island when I was 1.5. And, in elementary school, I attended after school a couple days a week the Center Island Jewish School, and they taught me about Jewish culture. And, I learned about how, the state of Israel was created as a home for the Jewish people who had been, slaughtered in, the Nazi gas chambers. And, I learned about how the Jews were oppressed and discriminated against. And, I think as the civil rights movement, developed, and I became aware about how black people were discriminated against and oppressed, I felt really drawn to try to do something about that. I remember when I was 12, I wanted to go down on the buses with the Freedom Riders. My parents wouldn't let me. And I remember, driving in with my parents into the city. We'd come over, I think the Triborough Bridge or the Throgs Neck Bridge, and you end up getting let out right on 110th Street, and the border between the well-to-do part of Manhattan,
yep.
And at the time Harlem was really down and out, and it it looked in bad shape. I mean, and I remember I'd ask my father, how come things look so good on one side of the street and they don't look so good on the other? And he talked about how the people on the good side of the street, they pay a lot of taxes, and so they get a lot of city services, and on the other side they don't pay a lot of taxes and they don't get it. And I just felt like it was not fair that people that end up getting born on one side of a line get such a good life, and the people on the other side get such a hard life. So I don't know. That's kind of.
I live in Harlem. We live in Harlem. My partner and our 3 kids, and it is quite remarkable. Even today, Harlem is not like it was the time frame that you're referring to, but there is still a very distinct line. I do cigar walks all the time. I love cigars. And I always do from our apartment down the east or the west side of Central Park. And the line is still there. Still there, even now that Harlem is this incredible neighborhood to raise families, and Harlem has welcomed us, a Guatemalan but very white passing family, into this sort of rich, beautiful culture. There's still a line. It's kind of crazy how that 1/10 line is still visible even in the year of our Lord 2025. But I know from the documentaries and the books that I've read that it was much more distinct back then. So am I to assume that because you learned, so would you say, so the school that you went to, were they teaching just what happened, or was it from a Zionist background?
This was an after-school program, and I went to public school on Long Island, and I was a Zionist, of course. I believed that there should be a homeland for the Jewish people, and what they taught us was that, this was really shitty land that they gave to the Jews. It was a desert; nobody was living there, and and then the Jews made the desert bloom and developed this highly advanced civilization, and then people in Arab countries that bordered it looked over the border and were jealous of all this stuff. And that's what I was taught.
Yeah, a land without a people for people without a land. I'm not Jewish, but I grew up a very conservative evangelical Christian, and those are a group that really love Israel, like a disproportionate amount of love. Like the church I grew up in before we moved to Guatemala when I was young, it was a Baptist church upstate New York. And they had an American flag on the stage, a Christian flag. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a Christian flag. It's white with a blue and then a cross in the middle. And then they had an Israeli flag on the stage. Rochester, New York, a Baptist church, not a Jewish synagogue, had an Israeli flag. We raised so much money every year for trees and all sorts of things in Israel. Almost all the fundraisers we did were for Israel. We had people come in to talk about Israel and how we got to support it. So I grew up also, I never embraced the Zionist part of my evangelical upbringing, but it was Zionism everywhere as a non-Jew. So I know a little bit about what it feels like to, like you're being fed this thing from the Christian perspective, from the evangelical perspective. It was, it's very clear. If you don't bless Israel, if you bless Israel, God will bless you. If you don't, God will curse you. And that's, again, if the God you're thinking of is this big, scary dude in the sky that can damn you to hell for anything that you do wrong, right? Then, I gotta bless Israel. I've got to do everything for Israel, even though that Israel we know is not this nation state that we're seeing now. So did you ever wrestle as a young boy as you're learning all of these things, did you wrestle with, hey, is this like for real? Like, was there ever any doubts that this was the way that things were supposed to happen, the things I was supposed to believe? And when did that start changing for you?
No, there was. I didn't wrestle with any of that stuff when I was young. it's. I mean, in terms of Israel and understanding, what really happened. I think it's only in the past, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 years that I became aware that there were people living there, and they got kicked out, and ended up getting placed into Gaza and the West Bank, and I certainly understood before that the way Israel was treating the Palestinians in those occupied territories was really horrible and unjust, and I was opposed to that.
Yeah, of course. So you also said when you were, one more childhood question and then we'll move on. Maybe we'll talk about ice cream next. But you said when you were 12, you wanted to ride the bus with the freedom fighters, right? So you were already seeing things that were wrong in the world and saying, I want to do something about that.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Was it religious? Was there because obviously, again, for now, if that was 12 and for decades you have been giving a damn and started way back then. Do you know kind of how that sort of sprouted up in you to be like, there's an injustice, I want to help, and even though your parents would let you go, like you would have gone if you could have. Where did that come from?
I don't know really. I think that when you're confronted with situations of injustice, you have kind of three choices. You can complain about it, you can ignore it, or you can do something about it. And I feel better doing something about it.
Yeah.
Or at least trying.
Is there merit in complaining about it and doing something about it? Or maybe not complaining, speaking up about it, I think, is probably different.
Well, speaking up,
yeah.
Is certainly a thing that we all have to do. I mean, he who is silent consents.
Yes.
I believe that very strongly. And, in terms of when we ended up starting a business, we were aware that the voice of business is the Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers. And those organizations were espousing points of view that Jerry and I were very opposed to. So that's a big part of the reason why Ben and Jerry started speaking up, because we wanted to make sure that that people didn't feel like the Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers was speaking for us.
Yeah. And let's talk about Ben and Jerry's here, because most people, well, I don't know. A lot of people know you from your activism work, but most probably know you more from the ice cream that we enjoy all the time.
Thank you.
We're a vegan family, and there's a lot of great vegan ice cream choices out there, but Ben and Jerry's does it best.
Yeah, I've been pretty amazed. I'm not a vegan, but I've eaten some of those vegan flavors, and yeah, you're right. It's really good.
It really is. I mean, it's one for one in my mind. Like there's no like, oh, I can taste that that's vegan. It's really, again, we don't have to talk about the vegan thing, but like, there's coconut ice creams, there's almond, there's cashew, there's all these kinds, and I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, of Ben and Jerry's are almond milk based, and it really has just a beautiful flavor. My favorite is what is it? The Lights Caramel Action, Ava DuVernay's flavor. I love Ava and her work, and the flavor is great. And so,
well, they were all almond based, and then we switched because some people are allergic to almonds, and we switched to oat milk, and I think it's even better. We do a lot of oat milk. I hadn't realized that. Maybe I did realize that. Maybe I've been eating the oat milk versions of it. Either way, so grateful for Ben and Jerry's contribution to the world. Again, so some people know you from your activism, but it's probably Ben and Jerry's.
brief. Your story's out there; people know it. But what's that story like? How did you get hooked up with Jerry, and how did this? Yeah, what's the brief story of how this thing became? Literally, I mean, you know this, one of the most iconic ice cream brands the world has ever known. I mean, Ben & Jerry's it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, you know? And so that's quite a thing.
It's kind of amazing. Whoever would have guessed? How did it happen? Well, it started with, Jerry and I met in junior high school in 7th grade gym class. We were the two slowest, fattest kids in the class. And, you get friendly with whoever the other fat guy is.
Your ally, yeah.
And, then we went through junior high and high school together, and I went to some colleges and dropped out of them, and I decided that I wanted to become a potter, and I studied pottery, and I planned on making my living. I was planning on kind of living a subsistence lifestyle, kind of going back to the land and having growing my own food and chopping my own wood. And the idea was that, when you're living that kind of lifestyle, you do need some money to buy some stuff. And the idea was that making pottery, selling pottery was going to be my so-called cash crop. The only problem is that, I started selling my pottery at craft shows, just to kind of work up to it, and nobody would buy my pottery. And Jerry went to school for pre-med and then couldn't get into medical school. And we got together and we said, well, we're both failures. If we're going to get by in this world, maybe we should start our own business. And since the only thing we really liked doing was eating, we decided, to start like a restaurant. And we knew one guy who knew something about business, and he said, whatever you do, don't start a full-service restaurant. You're open too many hours, too many employees, all the different shifts, and, all the food waste. He said, if it's got to be food, make it a very, very limited menu. And Jerry and I wanted to live in a rural college town, so our idea was to take a food trend that was starting off in the big cities and bring it to a rural college town. And the two things that were happening were bagels and homemade ice cream. And originally it was going to be bagels, and we checked out how much bagel equipment costs, and we couldn't afford it. And so we figured ice cream had to be cheaper, and we opened in 1978 on an investment of $4,000 apiece, and kind of renovated this old gas station that was falling apart, and started selling our ice cream. And Jerry could understand the science behind ice cream because he was pre-med, and we took this correspondence course in ice cream, and there was this big blue college textbook called Ice Cream, and
wow.
Full of equations and formulas and all this shit, and Jerry understood it, and so he developed our formula for our base ice cream, and we were making it in the window of the homemade ice cream shop in an old rock salt and ice freezer.
Wow.
People really liked it. We'd run out of ice cream all the time.
So, so you were in a gas station, am I correct? An old gas station?
Yeah.
And the menu, was it just ice cream or
Well,
some crepes?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was what do we call it? Incredible ice cream and amazing crepes.
Wow.
Because we did get a $4,000 loan from the bank, and the bank said, well, you got to have something to deal with the seasonality of ice cream. So we decided to do crepes, and Jerry was in charge of the ice cream. I was in charge of the crepes. Clearly, Jerry did a lot better than I did.
Yeah, the Ben & Jerry's crepes. Nobody's heard of that.
No, you can't buy that in your supermarket freezer.
So 2 years later, there's ice cream on shelves in grocery stores, correct? 1980?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was 2 years later, but
Okay. I thought it was early.
Yeah, probably in the early 80s.
Okay, early. So it was still just a few years after starting.
Well, first, what we did was, we had these restaurants, a few restaurants around the state were asking for our ice cream, and so we started delivering it to them. I was the delivery guy, and so we were first delivering tubs in the back of my VW Square back in an insulated box, and we were and then we had. We had more ice creams to deliver than would fit in that box, so that we bought this ancient ice cream truck that we were using to deliver in, and it was breaking down all over Vermont, and it cost a lot of money to tow it back to get it repaired, and that's when we said we were losing our shirts, and in a last-ditch effort to stay alive, we started packing the ice cream into pint containers to see if I could sell it to the little mom-and-pop groceries we were passing. And that's what turned the corner for the business.
This is not an important question, but I've always wondered. So it's in the pint. Everything's in that one size pint, at least now, in those pints. A lot of other ice cream you can get in half gallons or even like smaller, like single serve, whatever.
Yeah.
That was a conscious decision, I'm sure, but why not go why was there a conscious decision to not go bigger than that, so like a half gallon thing or whatever?
Well, one of the reasons for keeping it in pints is that if you finish it faster, it stays in better shape.
Sure.
Ice cream degrades when you have it in your home freezer over time, and the other thing is that it's a fairly expensive ice cream, and,
right.
If you buy a pint, it's less.
Yep.
So.
I don't like shopping at Whole Foods, but we have only a few grocery stores around us in Harlem, and Whole Foods is right there. So I go there very infrequently, but I go there because once a month Ben and Jerry's ice cream is on sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in the most expensive city in the world. 3 kids trying to keep it together. And so that's when I'll stock up on. I'll grab 4 pints then when it's
absolutely.
on sale. $2 off. That makes a difference at the end of the month. It
totally does make a difference.
Yeah.
But I would recommend, if you're going to store ice cream for any length of time, do it in a storage freezer. Like a chest freezer or something like that. Something that's not a self-defrosting freezer. Because
Got it.
The magic of a self-defrosting freezer is that it does frost up.
Yep.
And then a couple of times a day, it heats up to melt off the frost. And when
your ice cream, without even knowing about it, is
yeah.
Okay,
Temperature fluctuation, right. That's what kills it.
Okay.
But chest freezers, storage freezers, they don't self-defrost.
Last ice cream related question for now. What's your favorite flavor? Do you have a favorite?
I eat around. New York Super Fudge Chunk is a really big one. Lately, I'm into Coffee Buzz Buzz Buzz.
Okay.
I've spent some delightful nights with Chubby Hubby, chocolate covered peanut butter filled pretzels, and those are the 3 that come. Well, my favorite thing for quite a while has been just taking some vanilla ice cream and putting it on a wheat thin. You got your sweet and salty,
and the salty,
your creamy and crunchy. Don't knock it till you try it.
I love trying new things. I'm going to do that because I love a good wheat thin.
Yeah,
who doesn't love a wheat thin?
I think a wheat thin is an excellent product.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
You can put 2 simple things together.
Yeah.
Vanilla ice cream, wheat thin.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try it.
Open face.
I'm going to try. Yes, just like it's a topping on it.
Exactly. A canapé, as they say.
Okay, so at what point, as you're building, you referred to it earlier, but I want to spend one more minute on this because I think it's important. I think when people think about businesses that give a damn, yours comes to mind, Patagonia, a few others where it's like, oh yeah, as long as I can remember, they've gone beyond just transactions, and they've done good in the world. They've spoken up. They've started this thing and done that thing. Ben and Jerry's is in that. And you kind of, again, I think you're probably responsible, Ben and Jerry's, is for helping other businesses think through, yeah, I should probably do something, or I should try to, hopefully. When did that start taking place? Obviously, the first few years were, hey, we got to get this thing going. You're making crepes and ice cream and, in your VW, taking it to places. But at what point in the business were you like, yeah, we got to speak up. Like, we have a responsibility as we have visibility now. We got to say things about the things that matter. When did that happen?
Well, from the very start, we wanted our business to be run the way regular old everyday people walking down the street would like to see a business run. And so, about halfway through our first year in business, we said, we realized that, 9 out of 10 new businesses fail. And we said, well, if we're still in business a year from now, we're going to give away free ice cream to all of our customers. I mean, essentially everybody. We weren't going to ask, are you our customer?
Right, right.
Just give away free ice cream to anybody who walked in the door. And, we had no idea if we could afford it, but, we felt like, well, these people have been buying ice cream from us all year. I mean, if we got to be able to afford to give them one free one. So we did that, and, we would hold these community celebrations that had, there were stilt walking contests and three-legged races and sack races and apple peeling contests and frog jumping contests, and then we held free movies. We decided that we had this big space in front of the gas station where the pumps used to be, and we hung up a big screen and
that's cool.
Showed free movies, and they were walk-in movies as opposed to drive-in movies. You had to bring your own chair. So we were, we were just a little neighborhood place, and that was what we could do in terms of giving back to the community as well as, donating to whomever. And then as the company got bigger, we realized that, we were part of a larger community, and that we realized that, business in general is the most powerful force in our societies. That it used to be that religion was the most powerful force, and then nation states came to be the most powerful force, and today it's business. And that we need to use that power to improve the quality of life for people, as opposed to narrowly use that power to increase profits at the expense of the community, our employees, the environment. And we felt like, let's, and we thought about it, and, we decided to factor social concerns into the day-to-day runnings of our business in terms of, our banking relationships, and in terms of where we bought our ingredients. But then we realized that really the most powerful tool that business has is its voice. That when business talks, the media listens, the politicians listen, and the people listen. And so we decided we're going to use that tool. I mean, business is very political.
Very.
But the power that they use, the political power that they use, is covert. They don't particularly want people to know that they are making political donations to politicians, so that they'll pass laws that benefit that business. And they don't particularly want people to know that, Congress is crawling with lobbyists that represent business. And we felt like the difference for Ben and Jerry's is that we're very overt in terms of our political involvement.
Yeah, we're very big in my community and in our family. We're very big supporters of the BDS movement and figuring out what we're going to boycott and what we're going to overcompensate in supporting, because business is political and it's powerful, and we vote with our dollars. And the business owners also are trying to get us to vote with our dollars, in their general direction. We've seen it work. I think it works the way it's supposed to and really well. You've seen, when Target succumbed to the administration about DEI stuff, they've now had like their seventh straight worst month ever, and they didn't get their back to school bump that they usually get, and they're suffering, right? And a lot of businesses are seeing that when you align with the empire, when you align with the powers that be, and you don't speak up and you don't say, no, this is who we are, regardless of whether we get to stay around as a business or not, then I think people are more aware than ever that they get to vote with their dollars, and that it's a powerful tool. We have limited resources, so every dollar that I spend is communicating. My friend Max Lamana, who is a plant-based chef and cookbook author, very huge platform online, lives in the UK. He just started this. He has really beautiful content online. He's been speaking up during the genocide and doing really great stuff, raising a lot of money. He just started this every Thursday, boycotting supermarkets in the UK. He's asking everybody to do it, but he's asking for boycotts in the UK for any supermarkets that sell Israeli products. And as a result of the boycotts that he's done over the last couple of years, one supermarket chain in the UK stopped carrying Israeli goods directly. Because of him saying, we have limited resources. We're not going to spend money with you unless you stop supporting, these products. So anyway, I think it's very important. And I guess just going back to the power of business and business owners speaking up, not just making products. I want to buy products that I feel so bad. We're filming this on an iPhone. I feel so bad every fucking day that I have to use that thing. I don't have to. I could go back to a dumb phone or some sort of rotary. I could go back, but I feel so bad. The products in my life, I'm using one here. I'm sure something else here is also, a terrible company, run by terrible people. But Google, I use, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, most people are buying products despite what the business represents.
Yeah.
And, I think, for people to be able to buy a product from a company whose values they actually support is incredibly powerful. I mean, it's a delight and it's a pleasure for the customer, the person buying it. But the other part of it is that Ben & Jerry's ends up forming a relationship with its customers based on shared values. And, that's pretty much the deepest relationship that you can form.
Yep.
It's very mutually reinforcing.
It's a very beautiful thing. I mean, you've built not just products, but a community, right? When I walk down the frozen dessert aisle, your products stick out. Yes, I've got other ones that I try from time to time. Oh yeah, I really like how they make vegan ice cream with But it's always back to that, that one column that is all the Ben & Jerry's flavors. Some people might not know, though, that you for the last several years, you haven't owned it in the same way that you owned it, at the beginning.
That's absolutely right.
And so some people might, even if they've watched the platform over the past decades, and they're like, wait, they're speaking up more then, and now it seems like they're not, or whatever. What is that? And I know that you were just in the UK last week. So what was it? It went from Unilever to Magnum, correct? What's going on? Because I know that there's an effort right now to try to
free Ben & Jerry's.
Free Ben & Jerry's, exactly.
Yeah. What happened was that, as the company was growing, we needed a cash infusion, and we had a bunch of venture capitalists coming to us unsolicited, saying, "Hey, we want to invest in your business," and we said, "No, we don't want to do it like that. What we'd like to do is make the community the owners of the business. That instead of essentially selling stock to people who already had a lot of money so that they would make more money, we wanted to sell our stock to regular old everyday people. And, there's SEC laws that prevent you from doing that, but we found this kind of obscure law that had never been used before that allowed us to have an in-state public stock offering. So you could, if you lived in Vermont, you could buy stock in Ben & Jerry's in the early days and get in on the ground floor. And, all the, accountants and lawyers were telling us, you're crazy, don't do this, it's never been done before, you're never going to sell the stock, there's not that many people in Vermont, they don't have much money. And, we had this very low minimum buy of $126, and
wow.
And we did it, and by the end of the offering, 1 out of every 100 Vermont families had bought stock in Ben & Jerry's. So that's the way it started, and then the years go by, and we had a need for more investment, and the people who had bought the stock, they said, it's really great owning stock in Ben & Jerry's, but there's no market for it,
Sure.
and if we ever want to make some money, we can't. And so we had a national public stock offering, and the company was listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. And it was doing quite well. We ended up hiring the wrong CEO, and he kind of made an approach to Unilever because he saw a way for him personally to make a bunch of money.
Sure.
if the company were sold. And so the company, over the objections of Jerry and myself, got sold to Unilever in the year 2000. But because Jerry and I were so opposed to it, they added this provision, which was, had never been done before in terms of a acquisition of a company. What they did was by law, we established a legally binding independent board for Ben & Jerry's. And that independent board is responsible for the social mission, it's responsible for the quality of the ice cream, and it's responsible for the way the way the company is marketed. And Unilever has been responsible for operations and finance. And so, that relationship worked pretty well until several years ago when the company decided to pull out of the West Bank. We had a licensee in Israel, and the ice cream was distributed in Israel and in the West Bank, and we felt like the way Israel was treating people in the West Bank went against our values, and so we made a decision to pull out of the West Bank, and Unilever got a bunch of pushback from the government of Israel, and
Of course.
Eventually they decided to sell off the rights to Ben & Jerry's to an Israeli. And that was they were going against the acquisition agreement. That was under the authority of the independent board. So the independent board sued Unilever, and since that time, Unilever has muzzled Ben & Jerry's on issues related to racial justice, DEI, Gaza, freedom of speech, and So that's what's been going on, and then about a year ago, Unilever announced that they're looking to sell their entire ice cream division. They own about 20 different brands of ice cream around the world, and the two most popular ones are Ben & Jerry's and Magnum. And so we felt like, well, if Unilever, Jerry and I felt like, well, if Unilever is looking to sell their whole ice cream division, why don't they just carve out Ben & Jerry's and sell that to a group of socially aligned investors so that we wouldn't constantly be struggling. And as long as they didn't want it anymore, why not? But they didn't want to do that. And so what they decided to do is to spin off their entire ice cream division into a separate publicly held company called Magnum, the Magnum Ice Cream Company. And so now we're trying to convince Magnum that it is to their advantage to sell Ben & Jerry's to this group of socially aligned investors so that we can let Ben & Jerry's be Ben & Jerry's and let Magnum be Magnum.
That's fascinating, complicated, big, and I hope that it happens. What is the likelihood, in your mind, of that happening?
I believe that we will win.
Yes, there you
go. Venceremos.
Yes.
Most people say it's a long shot, but all of Ben & Jerry's was a long shot.
Yep.
We've had problems before. I mean, early in the history of Ben & Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs got bought by Pillsbury, and they tried to cut off our distribution. And really, it was Ben & Jerry's customers that saved us. And so, I think that our customers do care about it, and care about the values, and care about the issues that Ben & Jerry's has been standing up for, and they just need to let Unilever and Magnum know how they feel.
Yep. Well, I've seen you. Yeah, you've put out a few videos over the last couple of weeks, and I think they've done well. I've seen just a lot of traction, and I think we will win as well. But I hope so, because it's a brand that deserves to be free, freed from capitalist overlords that don't want to let you speak up. There are many. This last section of our conversation, there are many different periods of your activism that we could talk about. But for the sake of time, let's talk about a few that are sort of happening sort of lately. We'll end with Up in Arms, which I'm so excited to talk about. But a few months ago, you were arrested during a Senate hearing that was happening with RFK testifying. How did that happen? Why was there a particular reason why that? I watched the Senate hearing. I watched the whole thing. I would be lying if I didn't admit that I laughed a little when you all started protesting and RFK jumped and he got really scared.
He was a little surprised.
He was probably thinking that something very tragic was about to happen. It was very startling. But I don't like the guy at all, and so it was again. I don't know if I should be laughing at this, but it's it was a little satisfying to see him get a little scared there. But why that Senate hearing, and what happened? You did get arrested. I saw the video that our friends at Code Pink put out in the outside of the chambers in the hallway. What was that experience like, and what were you all trying to communicate that day?
Well, what was going on for me was that I was continuing to read these reports about the slaughter in Gaza, and
horrific every day.
It was driving me up a wall, and Then I read this report about how there was a new lead poisoning outbreak in, I don't remember, I think it was maybe Milwaukee. Lead poisoning kind of drives me crazy because it affects little kids. It's irreversible, and there's an easy solution to it. Get rid of the old lead paint in the low-income apartments where these kids have no choice but to live, and get rid of the lead in the plumbing, and we can do that.
Yep.
And in order to do that, it costs like 2% of the Pentagon budget.
Yeah.
So these two things are happening, and meanwhile we're instead of dealing with the lead poisoning, we're buying weapons and giving them to Israel as a gift so that they can bomb poor kids there in Gaza.
Yep.
And
innocent kids here, innocent kids there.
Right.
It's innocent everybody, but yeah, it's all over.
I felt like I needed to make my voice heard on that in the loudest way I could, and that's to do civil disobedience. That's the strongest statement that a citizen can make. My first idea was to chain myself to the White House fence, and people told me that, well, you can't do that anymore because it's been militarized. It's a militarized zone, and there's all these,
insane.
Police or / military with big fucking guns hanging out there. So the guy I work with said, well, you can disrupt a Senate hearing, and I said, you think that's really going to help? And so that's what we did, and I got my hat is off to Code Pink, who helped me get into that hearing, and they're the guys who took that video, every once in a while you do something that works.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of stuff and that's failed.
That didn't work. Yeah.
But
no, that was a very successful protest. Again, it's not. We don't. No, we do. Like I was gonna say, we don't do it for show. No, we do it for show. We do it because I think, every news station, because it was you. If you weren't there, it probably would have been like, oh, these faceless, nameless protesters got up and did this thing, and look at them go again. But because there was a well-known figure, your name was called out, your association with Ben and Jerry's, which everyone knows about. So there was there's all these like connection points going off, and it was very, very powerful. And I do think that I think Empire is getting the message slowly but surely, because there's more civil disobedience than ever. Like I think one of the most powerful things about the last 2 years, I think it happened in a big way during 2020, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter movement, but it's happening more now, where I think Empire is more scared than ever because they realize that we are, by and large, not scared of them. Like, we're not scared of committing civil disobedience. We're not scared. I mean, I see these incredible, going back to the genocide, like I see these protests happening all over. There was that person, I don't know what their gender was, but there's a person a few weeks ago in Germany who got punched in the face by a fucking cop. Like, in the video, they got punched in the face, and they turn right back around. And we're like, I'm not scared of you. Like, that's got to fuck with you a little bit if you have all this armor on, and you've got all the weapons, and this person with nothing on and a tank top, you just punch them in the face, and there's literally blood gushing out of their face. And they turn right back around and say, I'm not scared of you. Like, that's the scariest thing for Empire, is like when we stop saying, we're not scared of you. Like, we're not really scared. We just have to make things right, whether it's in Senate hearings or in protests or whatever. And so all that to say, very proud of you and the Code Pink. I mean, Code Pink is amazing. I love them so much. They're doing this as, this was a one-time thing for you so far, but like they're doing it all the time, and it's so unbelievable. I think the bravery to again stand. These are not armed empire, but these are the politicians. They're the ones that could change things, and they're not day after day in these hearings. So thank you for sharing that. Up in arms.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited about it because I'm so pissed about, I've always been just like in disbelief that we live in the wealthiest empire ever on the planet. We have so much money. We have the ability to fix name the problem and we can fix it. The lead poisoning, homelessness, hunger. It doesn't matter what the issue is. Obviously, we can stop sending money to giving Israel money so they can bomb, people in Gaza. We can fix all of this, and yet we choose its active choices to not fix these things, right? And yet, as you're going to share with us here, we just give in like nobody else on the planet does this. We're unique in that way. We're told that like Russia and China, like all these other bad guys, they don't even come close to the money that we dedicate to our military. The Pentagon budget here, and you would probably know this number. We have like 1,000 military bases around the world. Like no one has that. No one has military bases in almost every country on the planet, but we do. We have a presence everywhere, and our tax dollars are being used to fund it. So I'll shut up. Share about Up in Arms. I'm so excited about it, and I'm so excited for the Let's Give a Damn family to like learn more about it and figure out how to support it because it's something that we have to push.
Well, this is the issue that I've been most passionate about really for my entire life. That, as you said, we have so much money. I mean, it's incredible how much money we have. If we can't conceive as humans of the magnitude of these numbers, but to just give you a vague idea, $1 billion. If you were to count all the seconds that you were alive since you were born, it would be you'd be 33 years old before you lived 1 billion seconds, and that's just 1 billion. You think about
Insane.
100 billion. Wow, that's a lot. And then you think about the size of the Pentagon budget today, which is $1 trillion. That's like 1,000 billion. It's just
it's a staggering. It's an unbelievable amount.
Staggering amount. So, so as you said, you think of any problem that we have, homelessness. You can solve that problem for about 4% of the Pentagon budget. We're concerned about people in the U.S., kids in the U.S. that don't have enough food to eat, and there's millions of kids around the world that are literally starving to death because they don't have enough, and for 5% of the Pentagon budget, you could take care of all the kids in our country and all the rest of the kids all around the world. We spend on the Pentagon more than the next 9 countries combined, and most of those are allies. The country that spends the next most on their military besides the U.S. is China, and they spend 1/3 of the amount of money that we spend. And I think every once in a while Trump tells the truth, and he recently renamed the Department of Defense the Department of War, and that is probably the most truthful thing the guy has ever done.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not about defense. It's about controlling the entire world through military force.
Yep.
And that's why, we have 800 military bases around the world. When I grew up, I heard we had a bunch of bases around the world, and I figured, that's just what countries do. They have military bases around the world. It turns out that
We're the only fucking ones that do it.
The country that has the next most has like 7.
Right.
So it is the Department of War. It is designed to prosecute wars around the world, and it's not about defending the United States. If it were, we probably wouldn't need to spend. We'd probably spend half as much. And so that's what Up in Arms is advocating for, to use the military to defend the geography of the United States. And, what we've got is a huge amount of overkill. That's what we're paying for. And there's no better way, I think, to understand it than by looking at our nuclear weapons. And
Yep.
as you know, one nuclear weapon killed over 100,000 people in Hiroshima. Today, the size of our nuclear arsenal is the equivalent of 50,000 Hiroshima-sized bombs. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Supposedly, the purpose of our nuclear weapons is deterrence, but this isn't deterrence. This is delusion.
Yep.
This is, and the amount of money that it costs, it's $100 billion a year, and half of that is to build a whole new generation of nuclear weapons. We're saying let's use the money to help people in their everyday lives. Let's use the money to make it so that people can afford a decent place to live, so that people can afford child care, so that people aren't going bankrupt because of medical debt. And it doesn't cost us any more money in taxes.
Yeah.
It's just shifting from,
Right.
kind of a budget based on fear to a budget based more on
Flourishing.
love, caring,
yes.
thriving communities.
How much happier of a society we would be if we didn't have 500,000 people every year going bankrupt because of a medical bill? This is not irresponsible spending. Like, I got cancer, or I had to get my appendix taken out, or whatever, and I couldn't afford it, and now I'm bankrupt. That's insane. That's evil.
Yeah.
Homelessness, like you said, we could fix all of we would be so much happier. And yet we're spending $1 trillion, and you've got Brian Kilmeade of Fox News 2 days ago on Fox saying we should lethal injection homeless people. Like, those were words that he said, and he didn't get fired. So that's how sick we are and how twisted it is. So how are you and how is Up in Arms going to communicate? What are the means of communicating this on social media? I know there's been sort of public demonstrations. I don't know what you call that thing you all did in D.C., but what are the means of pushing this message out, and how can Let's Give a Damn listeners get involved?
Yeah, so it's events like what you're talking about. You can get involved by going to upinarms.life. And
I love that.
And so we had this huge structure in D.C. that was the amount of volume that $100 billion in $100 bills would take up.
1/10 of the actual budget.
That's right.
Wild.
That's right. And we around the anniversary of the bombing in Hiroshima, we placed this doll that had obviously been in the bombing of Hiroshima. We placed it in Disneyland, and got people to got a bunch of coverage for that. Got people to understand what was going on, and we're about to launch the D.O.P.E campaign, the Department of Pentagon Excess.
Love it.
Elon had his chainsaw, and he wasn't trying to attack waste. He was trying to attack programs that help people, and he ignored the Pentagon, didn't cut the Pentagon at all. As a matter of fact, Trump threw another $150 billion into the Pentagon. So I'm going to be picking up where Elon left off, and cutting the Pentagon budget.
And for those listening, go to Ben's Instagram. I think you posted it today, a video of you sort of green screened into the Oval Office, where you're taking the place of Elon. You've got a D.O.P.E hat on instead of Doge, and it's really effective. Let's wrap up with this. This is so excited. I'm excited to get people, headed your way and involved in this. I will be involved in any way that you need me. You've been around the block. You've seen a lot of changes in this country. You've spoken up about a lot of things. This feels very like I've read. I haven't experienced as much as you have, but I've read enough history to sort of see the ups and the downs, and from the civil rights movement on to here. This feels uniquely, to be very honest, this feels like a uniquely fucked up time where, again, we know way more than we did 40 years ago, 50 years ago. We have so much more knowledge and resources, and yet we're still making just horrific decisions here and abroad. We have some pretty bad actors that are leading us in politics, and I'm not just talking about the right. I very much don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Democrats. I'm a super leftist. Very disappointed in most of our Democratic politicians, with whether it's Israel or a lot of other things. Encourage, if you can and if you will, encourage. A lot of the listeners of this podcast are younger. They're trying to figure their way in the world, try to figure out what they're going to give a damn about and how they're going to do it and where and all that stuff. How do you view sort of what's happening? Are you finding any glimmers of hope in this current sort of landscape? If so, what are they, or what is it? And what should people be focusing on? Getting involved in politics, or forgetting politics and getting out in the streets, or a combination of a few different things? How are you kind of seeing the best way forward in this particular moment that we're in?
Well, I think what we're seeing is the last gasps of a dying empire.
Yes.
That it's going to do anything it can to hold on to its power, and there are people that are rising to the occasion. I mean, here in New York, Mamdani is, incredible, and I hear there's another guy like him in, I don't know, Milwaukee or Michigan or some country, some state there in the Midwest.
Yep.
And so I think that's what I think that's what we need to do is focus on politicians like that, help more of them to come into existence. In terms of stopping the current bleeding, there's an election coming up in 26. That's pretty soon, and so we have an opportunity to staunch the horrors that are going on. And I think getting involved in that. I mean, I think that anybody who has not voted to stop the gifts of arms that we're sending to Israel should not get our vote.
Yeah, we need to get them out.
Yeah, and vote in the new guys.
Yeah. Are you, this is the last question, how are you staying hopeful? How are you sustaining yourself through these times? What's keeping you going?
It's just doing the work. I mean, what choices do you have?
Yeah.
You can either ignore it, you can complain about it, or you can try to do something about it. I heard I used to think that, all right, I'm doing something about it, and I want it to change tomorrow. And, I guess there are some writings somewhere that says, you don't have to finish the job, but you have to work on it.
Yeah.
Just use whatever you've got to work to end injustice.
Yeah.
And enjoy that process. The civil rights struggle took place over hundreds of years.
Yeah. And it's still not over.
Right. And the same with apartheid. And we need to enjoy the journey of working for justice. It's the joyful journey for justice. And
that's beautiful. I'm all for people, a lot of when I asked forms of that question to different guests, a lot of it's around, the answers will be around like self-care and like how to rejuvenate. I'm all for that. Like take care of yourself so you can be in it for the long term. What I love about, a lot of people, when something happens and I will do some sort of an event or an action or post something that goes viral online and, there's a lot of hate coming my way. I get a lot of people that are like, how are you holding? And I'm like, okay, sure. I don't care about I get death threats. I've gotten horrific things that have come through. It's like that stuff, I don't even care about that. But I'm reminded of the joy of this. Like for every death threat that I get 50 people hitting me up saying, keep going. Thank you for doing that. Right? So you being out there doing these things, these actions, this big demonstration in D.C. or all these things that you're doing, that's fuel to see how many, to be reminded that I don't think we're kind of fucked, but we're not all together fucked because there's so many people out there that give a damn and they're going to stick around for the long term. They want to do this work. And so I love that. Like, I forget what you said exactly, but finding the joy in fighting for justice. Instead of it just being a struggle, like, sure, it's hard. It's fucking hard. But there's also joy in it.
Yes. There's joy in fighting injustice. Love
that so much. Ben, I would love to talk to you for hours, but you don't need that today. And this room needs to be occupied by other justice fighters here in a few minutes here at the People's Forum. So, Ben, thank you so much for this conversation.
Great being on the show with you.
I hope it isn't our last conversation and interaction. And, just really grateful for your work. And Let's Give a Damn is here to help with anything that you want.
Well, thanks a lot. Great to be here with you, Nick.